Good morning. I'm Dan DeRose with 19 News, coming to you from our digital desk. We're about to take you to a news conference taking place in the Ohio City area. This is an agency, it's actually three agencies that were trying to open up what's known as a youth drop-in center. This is an area that anyone from 16 years old up to 24 can get social services if they're homeless, if they're having problems getting services and getting connected. The three agencies involved are the Lutheran Metropolitan Ministry, the Place for Me, and the Reach Youth Action Board. They thought they were going to be able to open up one of these centers in Ohio City in the Franklin Boulevard area neighborhood when the zoning was pulled, and now they're fighting to get that zoning replaced. Let's take you live to the news conference.
And to start things off, I will ask LMM's President and CEO, Maria Fosha, to come to the mic and provide information about the appeal process and what we can expect next.
Good morning. My name is Maria Fosha, and I serve as President and CEO of Lutheran Metropolitan Ministry. The mission of LMM is to challenge systemic injustices faced by those who are oppressed, forgotten, and hurting by providing responsive solutions, advocacy, and hope. Each year, LMM serves close to 5,000 people in the areas of housing and shelter, guardianship, youth resiliency, and workforce development. LMM has been meeting needs of youth and young adults for more than 3 decades. This includes an emergency shelter, independent living, employment, and behavioral health services. I'm here today with partners from A Place for Me and the Reach Youth Action Board to announce that LMM has exercised its right to appeal the reversal of a zoning variance granted by the City of Cleveland Board of Zoning Appeals, BZA, which allowed the operation of the Youth Drop-In Center at this site, 4100 Franklin Boulevard. The City of Cleveland has also appealed the reversal of the variance. Along with the appeal, LMM has accepted the Court of Appeals' opportunity to participate in mediation, which we hope results in a mutually agreeable resolution so the Youth Drop-In Center can be started at this site. There are 2 major decision points to take note of related to the drop-in center being operated here at 4100 Franklin. First, on March 13, 2023, the City of Cleveland BZA granted LMM a zoning variance that would enable LMM partners to operate a drop-in center at 4100. And on December 2, 2024, a judge from the Cuyahoga County Court of Common Pleas reversed the BZA's decision to grant the variance, which effectively blocked plans to move forward with the improvements at this site and open the drop-in center. While the court agreed that, quote, the City of Cleveland needs a youth drop-in center, unquote, it reversed the grant of a zoning variance at this site. We appreciate the judge acknowledged that a youth drop-in center is needed. However, we respectfully disagree with his determination that a center should not be at 4100 Franklin Boulevard and believe the variance was rightly issued. As you can see from this timeline, the improvements at this site and opening of the youth drop-in center have been stalled for almost 2 years. This is due to a small minority of neighbors who have opposed the center based on unfounded fears of how young people facing housing instability will allegedly conduct themselves. I would like to acknowledge that over this time, an overwhelming majority of the Ohio City neighbors have indicated their support for the Youth Drop-In Center at this location. They have told us that this service is a symbol of the radical hospitality that Ohio City is known for. Many have demonstrated a commitment to stand with young people who come to this site for assistance to ensure they feel safe, supported, and connected to the community. On behalf of all the young people who we expect to serve at this site, we thank them. The young adults involved in this partnership have lived experience and were empowered to identify a residential neighborhood with essential amenities as the ideal setting. The group deemed 4100 Franklin as a safe respite site for the drop-in center that would meet the needs of young adults. Young people should not receive services in impoverished or industrial sites. They deserve to be in a diverse neighborhood with all types of people and services so they can thrive. They seek safety, resources, and a sense of belonging, just like you and I. We know this is the right place to provide a safe, supportive environment for youth and offer them stability, self-determination, and hope. The longtime use of this space was by Lutheran Children's Aid Society and Lutheran Family Services to serve children and families for adoption, counseling, and other services. since 2017 has been used by LMM for behavioral health and social services for youth, adults, and families. And since September of 2023, A Place for Me has provided youth navigation services at this site without incident. You will hear more about that shortly. LMM is not unique in our longstanding presence on Franklin Boulevard. We are one of many charitable social service providers within a couple blocks of one another that serve the needs of persons experiencing homeless and housing instability. LMM and these other charitable institutions were in place before most, if not all, of the handful of neighbors who opposed the drop-in center moved to this neighborhood. Throughout our 55 years operating as a social justice and social service organization, LMM has adapted to meet the needs of individuals who are hurting and all too often forgotten through services, advocacy, and innovative solutions. We are honored to have been selected as operator of this vital resource of a drop-in center. We stand with young adults with lived experience to advocate for this service to be provided here at 4100 Franklin. That concludes my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. And now we will hear from Christy Sozio, who is the Assistant Director of A Place for Me, the lead partner and provider of the Youth Drop-In Center, to talk more about the services and opportunities available.
Good morning. My name is Christy Sozio, and I'm the Assistant Director of A Place for Me. At A Place for Me, our mission is to prevent and end youth and young adult homelessness in Cuyahoga County. We believe that youth homelessness can be solved. A Place for Me leads efforts to end youth homelessness for the Cuyahoga County Continuum of Care with the Cuyahoga County Office of Homeless Services. We use a collective impact approach, coordinating a membership body of over 15 partner organizations to align efforts around youth homelessness. At A Place for Me, we have 3 areas of focus, each of which informs the others: systems change, direct services, and authentic youth engagement. The efforts to bring a drop-in center to Cleveland came from each of these 3 areas. From systems change. Different than an overnight shelter, a drop-in center is a key component to a comprehensive community response to prevent and end homelessness. While we have many resources in our community, it is challenging for young adults to know about them. They often have to go to many places and jump through hoops just to meet their needs. A drop-in center eliminates barriers and offers basic needs and resources all in one location. From direct services. A Place for Me works with young people experiencing housing instability and homelessness every day. We see the relief in young people when they realize they are somewhere safe, working with a navigator who has been in their shoes and can help them get what they need. We hear from the young people we serve that more places like A Place for Me, but with expanded services, are needed. Somewhere where they are welcomed, treated with dignity, able to decompress, eat, shower, and do laundry. A safe, youth-dedicated space to not only meet basic needs, but also access housing resources, employment help, counseling, and more. And from authentic youth engagement. We know that those who have experienced homelessness and housing instability are uniquely positioned to help us solve these issues. We collaborate with young people with lived experience, and young leaders have championed the need for a drop-in center since 2017. Our planning team for the drop-in center is composed half of young adults with lived experience, along with partners from Lutheran Metropolitan Ministry, Cuyahoga County Office of Homeless Services, Frontline Service, and Wingspan Care Group. In our last fiscal year, A Place for Me served hundreds of young adults and their children, supporting them with resource navigation, rental assistance, food, household items, and more. Building on our decade of experience, we have been operating out of this building at 4100 Franklin Boulevard without harm for over a year, seeing young people by appointment. 83% of the young people we served were Black or African American, which is greatly disproportionate to the general population. More than 70% of the young people we worked with were female, and over a third were parents. The drop-in center will help us to better serve young people experiencing housing instability in general, and subpopulations of young people in particular. We remain steadfastly committed to opening a youth drop-in center in Cleveland. We appreciate our partners, funders, young leaders, and supporters for remaining committed with us. We cannot stop this work because we owe it to the young people experiencing homelessness and housing instability in our community. We will continue to serve them, to support them, to listen to them, and work alongside them, leveraging their expertise until we have fulfilled this goal and are further on the way to ending youth homelessness. I continue to be motivated by the words of a REACH member and young adult who had recently exited homelessness when we first visited another community's drop-in center in 2017. She said, "If I'd had this when I was experiencing homelessness, everything would have been different." I look forward to the day when we can offer what she needed to someone else in her shoes, to make that world of difference to a young person working hard to have a place to call home. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. And now we will hear from a member of the REACH Youth Action Board. Although this person is going last, we are grateful to Kay Morgan because their voice is very important to us. So with that, we ask Kay to come and share more.
Hi, my name is Kay. I go by them and they. I am a member of the REACH Youth Action Board. REACH is a group of young leaders helping to change the homelessness system using our lived experience. Having lived experience means we encountered housing instability. REACH works to eliminate barriers caused by systematic racism and lack of affordable housing. We work together on the drop-in center team alongside LMM and A Place for Me because we know it would help youth and young adults experiencing homelessness. I support the youth drop-in center since 2020. I strongly support the drop-in center because it helps young adults get connected to accessible resources such as food, hygiene, and mental health services. I could have personally used these resources in my past. I was living on the streets of Cleveland in high school, my 12th grade year, so I started college not knowing where I would lay my head at or where my next meal would be. With no family support and a caseworker that didn't care, in college I stayed with people I just met, which wasn't safe. I asked students at the school to share their meals with me and got food where I could. I didn't have many clothes, and the clothes I did were too dirty to wash because I couldn't go to a laundry facility. It was hard, but I waited for housing. I could have used the drop-in center services like using the kitchen, computer lab, site therapist, and the laundry facility. It helped with housing at this time. There are over 500 young adults experiencing homelessness, currently sleeping in their cars, couch surfacing, and staying in unhealthy relationships or exchanging services for housing. These are examples of lived experience. The drop-in center will serve as a place to connect young adults to stable housing and to address their immediate needs. The drop-in center collaborative with young adults in all areas to create the drop-in center. For example, the REACH board helped pick the designated location, services that will be offered, and value of the drop-in center. We chose this area because we wanted somewhere that felt homey. We want to be in a community away from most of the county's social services that are located downtown Cleveland, but accessible by bus. Young adults who have the lack of community services such as these that the drop-in center will provide are forced to make hard decisions. For example, a mother having to decide between buying their baby food or diapers. If we had a drop-in center providing basic needs and services for all youth and young adults struggling with homelessness, they wouldn't have to face these tough decisions. Instead, they will be able to get back on their feet and thrive. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kay. And now we, of course, want to welcome questions from members of the media and the community. We have about 10 minutes. We ask that you pose questions, and we will confirm which member of our speakers will address those questions. With that, first question? Yes.
Can you talk about why the judge decided to backtrack on giving you guys that approval, and what are some of the things, if they did ask you to do, so maybe they could approve it, and what you guys are working on?
Thank you for the question. I can't really speak to what the judge, state of mind was in terms of the decision. I can say that when we were first approved by the City of Cleveland for the variance, we did make some adaptations to our plan, including based on listening to the neighbors and the community, from the council person to the block club in this area, Franklin Clinton Block Club, Ohio City Inc. So we both adapted ours, which then were a part of that variance approval, as well as a full and comprehensive safety plan that looked at interior, exterior ways, physical features that we could change and update for that safety plan, as well as the way we would greet guests and how we would support people that, will maybe coming in crisis to seek services. So we did provide that, and that was all in the record that came before the judge.
What are some of the things in that safety plan that you adjusted to help reassure neighbors?
Yes, so, and I'll speak to that a bit, and then Christy will follow up as well. It's very comprehensive in terms of both, physical features, which were already a part of the renovation plan. So when you look at security lighting and fences and those physical features, so when you're not open, there's not anybody coming, to the site, as well as on the interior. Respectful, but also looking at ways that we can make sure that people aren't bringing weapons into the facility, and that it's a respectful and welcoming community for all that we seek to serve. So I think, the safety of youth is equally important as it is the safety of the neighborhood, and we're concerned about both. We have been in this site for quite some time. But in terms of some of the other thoughts that came about and input from the young adults as well, maybe Christy can speak to that.
Yeah, I can just add briefly. So the safety plan, as Maria said, was something that came out of conversations with neighbors and in response to the BZA. It was also, like everything we do, created in partnership with young people with lived experience. So it includes, like Maria said, some of the physical features, like an extended vestibule at this back door. The entry would be through the back for everyone, for safety and privacy, but the vestibule would allow us to assess a young adult, see what they need, ensure that they are in fact a young adult in our service area, and if not, connect someone to appropriate resources, and then admit them as needed, make sure that we have staff here to welcome them. It would include a non-intrusive metal detector for the screening of any potential weapons. And it would also include a safety officer in addition to a robust staffing model. The safety officer would be here in plain clothes but well marked to meet the needs of any young people and just ensure the safety of everyone on site.
What's the funding look like long-term for this project, and has the delay in it being built out, has that affected the funding sources?
Yes. Funding for both the capital renovation was about $1.5 million estimate, and for the operations in a year one at $1.5 million. Now that's back to 2023, so those figures will go up slightly. We've had a number of and grateful for so many funding partners who have come to the table for this project, from foundations to corporations to individuals, philanthropists, as well as the county as well. So on both sides of both the operating budget and the capital budget. They've stuck with us. They believe in the project, and we're grateful for that. You always risk, losing that. And so, with the delay, we are just, again, grateful that they've stuck with us, and we've kept them updated on the process.
And that is $1.5 million for construction, and then $1.5 million per year for operation as well.
Yes.
So, okay.
That was our estimates as of 2023, so those have gone up. So we do have that a little bit of an opportunity cost now that we get into 2025.
In the back.
Thank you. So you said that LMM has exercised its right to appeal the reversal. So what is the next steps in this legal battle and the timeline that you see going forward?
So the next steps are a briefing through our attorneys of the case that our attorneys will make on our behalf, and then that will be heard by the Court of Appeals, which is a 3-judge panel, and then we go from there.
Do you feel optimistic that it'll work out?
We're optimistic in that the city of Cleveland also has submitted and gone on record as filing an appeal. So I think that, that they thought that the variance was appropriate, and we agreed. So we are optimistic in terms of being able to lay out our case.
So no timeline though, as of right now?
No, our experience is that the courts don't provide a timeline. We're hopeful, it is, expeditious as possible.
Are there any other viable locations? Obviously, you invested all of the time and resources into this location, but is there a point where you'll explore other places to potentially put a drop-in center?
Right now, we're focused on the appeal. So we're not focusing on another site other than this. A lot of research and due diligence over a number of years went into criteria for choosing a site, and this is even before LMM was involved. And so with that and with the voices of lived experience with the young adults determining this as a location, LMM is supporting that, and the partners as well. They deserve to be in a neighborhood. This site is owned by LMM. It's ready to go. It's shovel ready, as people call it in the construction world. And it's more cost effective to look at operating out of this site. So for those reasons, and we want to continue with the appeal process, where we need to see how that rounds out.
You guys have mentioned this a little bit too, but what kind of engagement and outreach have you done with the neighbors and with the community groups in this area?
So more than probably 3 years ago now, as this was coming to a conceptual stage and we were starting to think about, and the young adults decided that this would be the location they would like to see for the Youth Drop-In Center, we engaged the community on several levels, starting with the council person, along with Ohio City Inc. and the Community Development Corp. Over at least 2 meetings, the Franklin Clinton Block Club, which is very active in this community, at least 2 meetings there. And then we held and invited community members broadly to listening sessions that we held here with small groups of individuals and members of our team to talk through what we were proposing, to hear their suggestions. And as I said earlier, as a result, we made some adaptations to the hours. We really thought through thoroughly a safety plan after hearing some of those concerns, and we feel like we came to the table in earnest to address those concerns.
Is this a precedent-setting situation with the city, or has the city dealt with the situation with other organizations that gives you hope that this will work out?
Yeah, I don't know if this is a precedent setting. I know that we're hopeful that because the city is appealing and we are appealing as well, and that mediation is an option, that's something that we can come together with the city and with the community and the neighbors to come to some resolution.
What would your message be to those residents who don't want to see something like this come up in their community? Like, how would you address their fears?
Well, yeah, I just would reiterate that, we held a lot of listening sessions. We've taken input. We're open to more input into how we go forward as well. And I would say that, safety for young adults is important to young adults. And they chose this neighborhood because they know that. And this neighborhood of Ohio City is noted, as I said before, for their radical hospitality, welcoming nature. The young adults want to feel safe, and they want safety around them just as the neighbors do. And I think, we've come to, understand what some of those concerns are, and we've addressed those. And again, we're willing to come to the table again and address those further and see if we can resolve these issues to everybody's satisfaction and move forward, because it's desperately needed, as you've heard from both Christy and Kay today. And, safety is everyone's concern, but providing services and closing a gap is a real issue for the community, and this is a great solution for that.
So it sounds like you guys got the grant to be able to build pretty easily. Can you give any kind of sense as to why the judge reversed it, like even a general reason without specifics?
I can't, other than what I had quoted earlier, that the judge did acknowledge that a youth drop-in center is needed in the city of Cleveland, and that, but he did say he didn't feel like it should be in this at this site.
You mentioned too, this is the only major metropolitan area in the state that doesn't have a drop-in center. What do you think the difference here is compared to places that do have a drop-in center?
I'll defer to Christy and to you.
Yeah, I can jump in. So drop-in centers look really different in different places across the street. So every community has kind of adapted a model to be right for them. We have done extensive research. We had a consultant work with us. We did a crosswalk of drop-in center models, not just across the state, but also nationally. One of the biggest barriers, frankly, is funding. Drop-in centers they don't cost nothing. To do it effectively, you need staffing, you need the right space, you need the right partnerships to be involved. And so that was really what took us from 2017 to 2020, was figuring out how are we going to fund this in our community, educating folks about the need for a drop-in center. And so I think just every community is at their own place in that journey. And then, once we had the comprehensive plan and then ran into these legal challenges that, of course, significantly delayed. But I think the need is there. The evidence that it's a critical component of a youth system is there. And so we really owe it to our young people to get to where the rest of the major cities in Ohio have already gotten.
Thank you so much, everyone. This will conclude today's press conference. We appreciate all of you joining us. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to.
Dan DeRose with 19 News. I think what we've just heard is that this is yet another case, a classic case of NIMBY, not in my backyard. You heard from the director of the Lutheran Metropolitan Ministry that this is a handful of neighbors in that Franklin Boulevard neighborhood that did not want a youth drop-in center. So they got a judge to hear the case. It was the city's zoning board that gave them a variance to put in this youth drop-in center. Let's be very clear, this is not a shelter. This is a place that youth 16 to 24 years old can come get housing services, mental health services, maybe even food. As you heard, laundry services. What a touching story from the young woman there that said she lived on the street during her senior year in high school. She had nowhere to take her clothes just to get them clean when she went on to college. She was asking classmates for food when she started college and didn't have the resources to get housing until much later, and that a drop-in center would have helped her. But there is concern for at least some of the neighbors in the Franklin Boulevard area of Ohio City that don't want homeless teenagers, youth, coming in and around their backyard, so to speak, to get these services and worry about what it would do to that portion of Ohio City. So they took their grievance to a judge. A judge ruled that the city's zoning authority did not have the correct protocol to simply change the zoning and now has reversed that. Meanwhile, you have this facility that has spent $1.5 million getting it up and ready, and now they can't open because of the judge's ruling, and they're going to have to go through this appeal process. As you heard from the director, there is no timeline for the appeal process for the judge, so this could be a long-awaited situation, a long-awaited resource for youth in the area that may never see the doors open. They'll have to go through the process of trying to get that put back in, that zoning variance put back in, but sort of like a wow moment for that agency. If we have any other breaking news, it'll be here on our digital properties. Our 11 o'clock news underway on CW43, then our noon news live on Channel 19. Until then, I'm Dan DeRose with 19 News. Have a good afternoon.
19 News is everywhere. Download our CTV apps and follow us on social media at Cleveland 19 News.